Dear learners and viewers, welcome to this program. I am Dr. G. Uma, faculty in the School of Gender and Development Studies. Today's session, we discuss about the course MGS 001, that is Gender and Development, Concept, Approaches and Strategies. Before I explain about the gender and development, we need to talk about the entire course structure. This course has 6 blocks. Block 1 introduces the concepts of gender and development. Once you learn about the concepts of gender and development, then we have to go to approaches to gender and development. And third block talks about the strategies in gender and development. And fourth block, specific strategy, that is gender mainstreaming in policy making. And fifth and sixth block, it talks about the gender and market economies, gender, work and health. Now let us learn about gender and development. Just let me start introducing the course. If you look at the existing development process, there has been a lopsided development when it comes to vulnerable women, marginalized and other genders. The development process conceived over a period of time tried to improve GDP, that is the economic, we measured the economic development through the indicator called gross domestic product, that is GDP of the country, instead of addressing the overall well-being of women, marginalized and other genders. So this once you started measuring the development of the any country through GDP, we failed to address the needs of the women, marginalized sections of the population. So after measuring the country's development through GDP for over a period of 40 to 50 years, feminist and development experts realized that it did not bring the desired improvement in the lives of the considerable percentage of the women population, especially women and marginalized sections in the developing countries. So the perceived and implemented development process in the various countries thus led to bring hierarchical gender relations in public spaces, and this existing development process reinforced existing gender roles, that is what men have to do, what women have to do, how they have to behave in a public spaces, how they have to behave in a private spaces, all those things. Again and again the existing development process reinforce the existing gender roles, and even though women, they contribute for economic activities, whatever the women's contribution, that has not been recognized, and there is a women, they contribute for subsistent economic activities. Subsistent economic activities means, for example, women, they work in the backyard and they grow vegetables and they are part of the entire food production. But whatever the women contribute, and most of the women, if you look at the data, they were part of the informal economy. That informal economy will contribute for the overall economic activities. So whatever the women contribute, that is not recognized, and the existing development process has led to the environmental degradation and feminization of poverty. So that rapid industrialization in the late 19th and 20th century alienated women from the formal production, and most of the women were part of the informal economy. Then like 1950s onwards, for example, India got independence in 1947. 1945 to immediately after the Second World War, in 1945 onwards, most of the nations, especially third world countries, now we are not using the term third world countries, now we are using the term developing countries. During that period, most of these countries, they got decolonized, and they have realized the importance of growth and development. That led to the massive that led to the concentration of infrastructure development, rapid economic activities. These development process is based on the two important theories, that is the modernization and dependency theories. So the development process realized in the late 19th and early 20th century has been looked at from the modernization and dependency theories. The modernization theory critiqued the existing traditional production relations and believed in free market economy. Unlike modernization theory, if you look at the dependency theory, they have criticized the unequal relation in production in the capitalist market in the whole world. It critiqued that the developing countries are forced to undertake the production of goods and services to fulfill the needs of the developed nations. That is the. So, if you look at the existing development paradigm, and it does not provide much space. First is it does not provide the much space for the sustainable development. Then there are some assumptions from 1915 onwards, that is the GDP led growth will reduce the poverty, and that will contribute to the well-being of the entire population. Certainly it will increase the income of the family, that will provide the access to all facilities, especially the facilities like health and education. And another assumption is that the economic growth will reduce health maladies like malnutrition. These are the assumption. Based on that assumption, everybody started implementing the free market economy. Unlike free market economy, India has adopted the controlled economy immediately after we got an independence. So these assumptions did not bring any improvement. This assumption has been failed. The feminists critiqued the existing assumption, and they started instead of the feminists stated that instead of improving the lives of the women and marginalized sections, it has bubbled up instead of trickle down. Trickle down means once there is an improvement, it has to be spread everywhere, and the benefit should given to everybody in the society. But these free market economy, rapid economic activities or industrialization does not bring desired result among women and other marginalized sections of the population. Along with Western feminists, like South Asian feminists also, specifically Indian feminists, contribute to the contribute to critique the existing development paradigm, and they have contributed for developing alternative theoretical understanding for the entire development process, and they have conceptualized what is empowerment, how to empower women and marginalized sections at the grassroots, what are the activities we need to take improve the women and marginalized sections of the population. So apart from theoretical perspective, there are many studies specifically carried out by the specifically feminist economists. They have pointed out that the current development perceived only to economic growth as a development, which has certain limitations. Because of that limitations, most of the time the women and the marginalized sections, they could not able to access the necessary resources available in the society. For example, financial access, that is very important for the women to improve for the economic empowerment. Most of the women, they could not able to access the financial institutions like banks. So looking at from 1950s onwards, there are various stages of development. Looking at this development process, we could able to clearly see the gender lack. There is a lack of gender concerns. So the feminists 1917 onwards, they have brought the concerns of the women in the entire development process. They have strongly advocated that the existing development process did not address the needs of the women in the society. Specifically, the study carried out by the Esther Boschrup in African agriculture system highlighted the women's contribution to agriculture and industrial development. Because of her study, the policymakers realized that the women, they do contribute, but that was not recognized. So this Esther Boschrup study further opened up the debate among policymakers on including women in the development process. During that period, 1970s, the United Nations also realized it needs to play a crucial role in integrating the women into development. So 1975, it has declared, 1976 to 1986, it has declared, and it marked as the Inquiry of Development, and it conducted first international conference for women in the year 1975. So because of the efforts by the feminist economists and international organizations like United Nations, the GAD approach was emerged in 1980s as an alternative to women and development, and gender in development. In the women in development, the earlier approach, it talks about integrating women's needs in the existing economic activities. But unlike women in development approach, the GAD approach, that is gender and development approach, clearly talk about the existing gender roles, why the women are marginalized in the society. It has a theoretical root. That GAD approach has a theoretical root in socialist feminism, and it has bridged the gap left by the modernization theorist by linking the relationship of production and reproduction and taking all aspects of women's life. Specifically, the socialist feminists have identified that the existing socialization of production and reproduction relation is the primary reasons for oppression. Not only socialist feminists, even Marxist feminists also, they strongly believe that the existing production relation, for example, in the society, the male members are considered as a breadwinner. So they are supposed to go out, they earn, and they support the family. The women, they are supposed to be, because of the existing socialization process, the women, they are supposed to be taking care of the family, elders, and they need to do the activities at the private spaces. So during the care activities, the women, they do contribute for subsistence economic activities. Whatever the subsistence economic activities they do, that will certainly support the entire family, and it could able to address the food security of the entire family. So the GAD approach focuses on the existing gender relations and social relations and questions the roles of the men and women in the society. This because of the contribution of the socialist feminist and feminist economists, the United Nations declared 1975 as an International Women's Year. Subsequently, it has organized, already I have mentioned that 1975 the United Nations has organized the first international conference. So 1975 onwards till 1995, it has organized the 4 international conferences, and these conferences deeply discussed about the issues of the women. Then there was an emergence of welfare approach, equity approach, anti-poverty approach, efficiency approach, and empowerment approach. Not only this approach, the feminists, they have contributed for the development of various theories like women in development, women and development, gender in development, gender and development. Because of the emergence of gender and development thing, the feminists realized that it is very important to be this entire the development paradigm, gender and development paradigm, should be part of the existing educational system. So they have, unlike the women's studies, the gender and development studies not only talks about the existing feminist theories, it has critiqued the existing development paradigm, development process, and the feminists could able to provide the alternative approach to the entire development process. That is the first contribution, and they would like to make this entire gender and development theory to be part of the educational institutions. Thus, the master's and bachelor program in gender and development studies have emerged. According to GAD approach, the roles assigned to men and women in different societies were due to the socialization process and the oppression that began because of the socialization process. Because of the socialization process, the society expects the women to perform certain roles and the men to perform certain roles. The GAD approach does not question the significance of women's participation in socio-economic political life. Its primary concern is that the reasons for women's oppression and the reasons for assigning secondary roles for women in all societies irrespective of their location. That is the main concern, is what is the main reason for women's oppression, why the women are considered as a secondary citizens. That is the main reason, for, main question for GAD approach. Basically, socialist feminist, Marxist feminist, liberal feminist, they have mainly contributed for the development of the GAD approach. As far as socialist feminists are concerned, they, along with the Marxist feminist, they have tried to analyze patriarchy and they try to address women's concerns. So the GAD approach does not consider women in isolation. It considers the social construction of gender, and the society will assign certain roles for the male members and certain roles for the female members. Because of these existing gender relations, because of the existing socialization process, the women are considered as second class citizens, and they are not treated on par with male members in the society. Unlike radical feminist, the socialist feminist does not bring changes in the lives of the women in isolation. Like, for example, radical feminists, they mostly considered female solidarity and female exclusion. Unlike radical feminists, GAD approach tried to include men and women and other genders in the society, and they are tried to bring equity and social justice concern by considering each and every one in the society. So, like, the another important thing about GAD approach is that it analyzed the existing productive, reproductive and societal activities. What are the what is productive, what is reproductive activities, what is socialist, what are the activities the women perform in the society. So it tried to analyze the women's nature of work and their contribution within and outside the family. That is the first the GAD members analyzed, and the feminists who are instrumental in designing the GAD approach, they analyzed that the women basically they perform three types of roles. One is the productive, reproductive and community managing work. Productive work includes whatever the activities which brings certain kinds of economic benefits to the individual as well as society as well as to the various social structure. Reproductive activities include not only childbearing and child rearing, caring work. Apart from productive and reproductive activities, the women, they do contribute certain kinds of community activities that includes women's active participation in politics at the local level, sustainable use of scarce resources, that is the common property resources, and sustainable consumption and recharging of water and fuel. That is very important. Based on the roles, like that is the main analysis of feminists who work on the GAD approach. Like based on the roles performed by the women in the society, their needs also will change. So the feminists, they further analyze the needs of the women. That needs they have divided into two types, that is the practical and strategic gender needs. The practical gender needs are the daily survival needs, like food, water and shelter, while strategic gender needs related to a certain resources. For example, practical gender needs, there certainly, if the government will bring certain kinds of policies and programs, for example, if the government decide to provide the potable drinking water potable drinking water to each and every individual in the society, then it's easy for the women to access drinking water. Like food also, if the government ensures the food security of the each and every individual in the society, then women do get benefit. Unlike practical gender needs, strategic gender needs, if the government start addressing the strategic gender needs, that certainly bring changes in the existing gender relations. For example, if the government decide to bring laws related to equal access of the ancestral properties by the male and female members in the society, then what happens is that certainly, like a male members in the society, female do get equal share from the ancestral properties. Once the women access to their ancestral properties, then they could able to control the properties. So once, like if the women get equal share like male members in the society, certainly their existing power relations will change, the existing gender relations will change. So both male and female, they could be treated equally in the society. So another important analysis of GATT scholar is that public-private dichotomy, the commonly used as how the how the women perform at the private space and their existing gender relations in the private space, as well as the existing gender relations in the public spaces. So if you look at all these, whatever I have spoke about now, if you look at that, this GATT scholars, they strongly believe in the role of the state. So they have developed frameworks to bring appropriate policies by the state. Once they formulate the appropriate policies by the state, the GATT scholars strongly believe that will bring necessary changes in the lives of the women. So GATT approach clearly states that women are active participants in the existing development process rather than the passive recipients of state and other agencies' welfare measures. So according to the GATT scholars, the role of state is very important. The state has to bring appropriate policies and programs and laws to bring changes in the lives of the women. So the GATT approach believes in state intervention. It focuses on not only policies and programs. The GATT scholars, they believe in the bringing appropriate legal measures to address the issues of the women. Apart from that, they have developed certain frameworks like gender analysis, gender mainstreaming, and gender sensitive policy planning. That will certainly, they believe that will certainly bring the changes in the lives of the women, and the state will have a commitment to bring structural changes at all levels. Basically, structure means there are various structures in the society, family, state. Each and every social structures, they try to control the women, and they try to dictate the women that what they have to do, how they have to perform, what are the activities they have to do. So the GATT scholars strongly believe that it is the responsibility of the state to bring appropriate changes at various levels. Then only they bring changes at the society, that is the structural level. Then both men and women, that can be they can be treated equally. Now I have given the introduction. Based on these introductions, we have developed the 6 blocks in this course. The block 1, that is called the concepts of gender and development, it has a 4 units. Basically, it has introduced the various concepts related to not only this course, related to the entire program. So first one is the development dimension of basic concepts, has extensively explained in the first 2 units. The third unit is about the social construction, and last unit is feminism in development. Like first, the second is about the development discourse, that I have extensively explained about the how the feminists have contributed in the existing development discourses, and they have developed appropriate alternative approaches to address the women's concerns. The third is about the strategies in GAD approach. In that we have 3 units, that is, one is on planning and policy making, affirmative action, and gendering. The fourth block exclusively we have talked about the gender mainstreaming in policy making. The entire block, it has 4 units. The entire block talks about the gender mainstreaming in policy making. The fifth block is about the gender and market economy. It has critiqued the existing economic development, how this economic development alienated women from the existing production relations. So how that, and they have talked about the alternative ways to address the women's issues. The last block is about the gender, work, and health. It talked about the work paid and unpaid work, and it talks about the livelihood and subsistence production and work-life balance. Not only that, it has also addressed the sexual harassment and gender and occupational health, reproductive rights, and reproductive health and reproductive rights. These are the 6 blocks in this course, and these blocks, whatever I have provided provided in the beginning of this session, that is extensively covered in all in this 6 blocks. Hope you could able to understand the entire courses. In the subsequent sessions, we will take up the other courses, and we will extensively discuss about those courses also. Thank you so much for listening this program. Thank you.